Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of YHB TV. That is your Handmade Business Television by Academy of Handmade, which is us, me and Isaac. I'm Sharon Fain. This is Isaac Watson. If you guys have not met us yet, we are the co-directors of Academy of Handmade, which is a supportive community for your business, and we are here to help you work on your business, not just in your business. So we will get all up in your business today. Nice transition.
I thought you were going to say we were the masterminds, and I was going to say, hold on, you're getting a little ahead of yourself. But
oh, no. We're going to get all up in your business by talking about craft show misconnections. Even if you don't do craft shows particularly, some of this is still relevant to, I think, any kind of market selling. And so in general, just kind of being aware of your business and thinking about being prepared. And this is part of October, which we're kind of examining some business foundations as we head into the holiday season. So if you haven't already, please definitely go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat area. It's good to see Kristen with us. I don't think we've ever had you in here with us before, or if you have, you've lurked, Kristen, so welcome. Jen from Dry Wit is in there. Someone who is a regular, welcome, Jen. Introduce yourself. We'd love to see who's here, where you're from, and what you make. This episode of your Handmade Business Television, which each episode we try to plug a little something, is brought to you by our holiday game plan, which is a pretty amazing way to, if you feel overwhelmed and scattered and like you're not ready for the holidays, the holiday game plan is going to walk you through getting ready. And it's going to take you through so that you think through everything and that you're sort of not a mess. And if you felt stressed out at all last year about the holidays, or if this year you've come up on the holidays and you just have not been as prepared as usual, the holiday game plan is a great way to go through 8 different lessons about thinking about your business and really treating it like a very special season of I guess like where you kind of like make the magic happen. So if you click on the button below here, it says holiday game plan, and it will direct you to a page that has a few more free lessons from us, as well as where you can purchase the holiday game plan. Did you have anything to add to that, Isaac?
Not really. I think you very eloquently talked about it. I am excited to see. It was fun to see people go through the holiday game plan last year and find it to be very useful. And I'm curious to see who might take it on this year and what kind of benefits they would get out of the lessons. But the great thing about it is that they are very much like take them as you have time.
Yep.
So you can either breeze through it as a refresher, or you can dive into each one kind of depending on how you learn and how you want to approach your holiday goals. But I think the big thing for me when we created it was creating something that would help you approach the holidays with intentionality, because so much about the holidays is reacting. It's so easy to just react. But we really want to help you be proactive by setting your goals and thinking through timelines and things like that.
Yep. And October 17th, we are going to do a webinar where we kind of just walk you through everything too. Like we plunge you in. Definitely you'll want to like carve out some time yourself to do some of this work, but we kind of go through it, everything. So it's not completely self-guided, as in like you don't have our voices there helping you along the way. So register now by October 15th in order to get in on that.
How are you?
Good.
What's new in your world?
What is new? Like it's really boring over here. There's like taking dogs to the vet because I have a French bulldog that is aging and has chronic pneumonia. And I mean, I don't know what else to say. That's like, these are the big things in my life.
Yeah. But the heat broke down there in LA, right?
The heat broke. It is still, today is actually quite sunny and got sunny. The marine layer evaporated very quickly today. So it is actually quite sunny right now, but there is a breeze and it's not a bajillion degrees. So for that, we are grateful.
Yeah. So if I'm getting this correctly, what we up here in the Pacific Northwest call clouds, you call the marine layer. Is that how that works?
It's really, I mean, I know that people mock it. It is because that's what other people I've had other people from out of state say. It's really just like a specific version of like what I would call like an overcast fog. It's like an actual weather effect. So like it is basically that the coast gets, socked in with, moisture and clouds and a little bit drizzly, a little bit foggy, very cloudy, and then usually burns off. So, I mean, it is a specific weather effect, but yes, it does involve clouds and being overcast. So,
got it. Last night I went to a thing called Pop-Up Magazine. Have you heard about this?
Mm-mm.
It's this like touring show where they do these live. It's like a live magazine format where they have writers and authors and stuff tell stories, and they have like a little live band doing live score, and then there's illustrations and little animations and videos and things like that. It was really, really cool. They did one in LA recently, and they just did 2 nights in Portland. They're off to Chicago now, but it was fascinating. It was a whole bunch of like personal stories and interesting little reportings, covered everything from like extinct flower fragrances to a high-class brothel in San Francisco in the 70s to rehabilitation of terrorists that come out of Guantanamo. So it was very fascinating. I went with a friend of mine. I loved every minute of it. And I would say if anybody lives in Chicago, or I think they're going to Toronto next, I highly recommend it. It was a really good show.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it was very interesting. And it was all like very mysterious. They were like, we're not documenting this. You just have to show up and we're going to do a thing. And then it disappears. It's very pop-up.
So like the content changes every single time, basically.
They bring some of the same people with them, but they do like city-specific stuff. So there was like very Portland heavy last night. But they were like, one of the contributors was the author of, I'm trying to remember her name now, the author of The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks.
Oh, okay.
Like journalist Anne Friedman was there telling a story. It was really fascinating. It was like, yeah, it was really cool. Anyway,
did you see The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks on HBO?
No, I have not.
Don't mind my dog in the background if you hear snorting. He's deciding to itch himself on the carpet right now. Other one is now barking at neighbors. So.
Oh, dogs.
I would highly recommend it. Oprah is in it, and she gives a very, very good performance. Oprah is basically Henrietta Lacks's daughter, and it's very compelling. And I think I forgot who's the reporter in it. Anyways, it's very good. I would definitely recommend that, watching that as well if you can catch it. Cool. All right, down to business.
Yeah, let's talk about craft shows.
We are coming in with 5 tips, maybe more. We could give you bonus tips, depending where this goes, to avoid craft show missed connections. Would you like to describe what a missed connection is, as we decided to define it when we were creating this?
Well, I love my plays on words. And so when we were thinking about this, I thought of misconnection because there's like Craigslist misconnections, which, like if you like see somebody on the bus or in a store or something and you like have a moment together, but you were too introverted or scared to actually do anything, and then you post about it online later. And anyway, I used to be obsessed with reading them, mostly because I wanted to know that somebody saw me, but it was never about me. Anyway, we won't get into that. But so my thought around misconnections at craft shows is like, oftentimes we go into craft shows, especially, I mean, we were just talking about like reaction mode versus being proactive around the holidays. I think that can especially be true at craft shows. And so we want to make sure that you're not missing out on opportunities at craft shows, things that may not be your primary focus when you're there in person selling, but that could be really beneficial to your business. So these 5 tips we're thinking can kind of help you get in the right place, the right frame of mind, and the right situation where you can really take advantage of and make the most of your craft shows.
Yeah. And craft shows are extremely overwhelming. Just like from a sensory perspective, from a, there's usually a bit of labor involved of putting things together, tearing things down, and it's very easy to, I feel like you have to transition into a lot of different modes constantly. And that's super taxing, like I think mentally, emotionally, physically, when you keep having to go from, okay, setting up everything, I'm in design my booth mode. Okay, now I'm in greet customers mode. Okay, so now I'm in chat with this one customer who seems super interested. And then all of a sudden you're in chat with this other customer who's kind of a jerk and like, maybe saying some jerky things about like, oh, I could make this or whatever. Like just, some people are just terrible. And then all of a sudden you have to transition to being super happy again to a new person coming in your booth. So I think all of those having to just constantly like refocus and like emotionally like give and change and like you kind of have to like almost like refresh yourself constantly really is extraordinarily taxing and can allow you to miss a lot of things if you're not careful. So I think tip number 1, we talk about self-care, and that a big reason you're missing sales or connecting with customers is because you are just not taking care of yourself. You're not in the right place. There's a million lists out there that tell you all the things to pack, and water and sunscreen. You did not bring any food. You're hangry. You didn't plan ahead to have someone relieve you so that you could go to the bathroom. Didn't bring a stool that's an appropriate height for you to sit down on and still talk with customers. You're just not your peak self. You didn't bring, an umbrella or sunscreen or whatever you just didn't do to keep yourself in a position where you're constantly ready to speak, at your peak self all the time is really, I think, something that is, can be detrimental to sales.
Yeah, I think I would add to that there's there's a lot you can do to prepare going into a show, making lists and all that kind of stuff. But then I ran into this before where I would do all the prep ahead of time, and then during the actual thing, I would forget to eat the snacks I bring, or I would forget to drink my water or whatever because I got so caught up on it. So I would add a layer of kind of checking yourself, either having a booth neighbor or somebody like check in with you regularly, or set alarms on your phone for when to take food breaks. Anything you can do to keep reminding yourself to take care of yourself so that you can make sure that you are not missing out on good connections with customers just because you're hungry or tired or uncomfortable. Okay, second tip, and I think that this is something that most people may not be focused on a lot, but could be really valuable, especially with holiday shows, is not really being prepared for potential wholesale buyers. visiting your booth. I think we're often thinking about the retail customers right in front of us, and selling gifts and making money right then and there. But there are a lot of shop owners, especially as trade shows become more expensive or more challenging for small shop owners to visit, who will go and walk craft shows not to buy gifts for their own people, but to scope out makers for to carry in their shops. And so if you're going to make a list on things to pack, you should definitely include a couple line sheets or catalogs or whatever tools you have, resources you have for potential wholesale buyers. You should keep an eye out. Oh, I got a thumbs up from Kylie. Yes, that's a good thing. Kylie's a shop owner, so I think she probably resonates with this a little bit. But having making sure you have business cards or a way that you're keeping an eye on people who are just like browsing at a distance, because those might be shop owners that are perusing through because they're not necessarily trying to find something right then, right there. But that could result in last minute wholesale orders if they've got holes to fill in their on their shelves. It could result in springtime orders. That's a prime opportunity to take advantage of that a lot of people may not think of.
Yep. Rachel says, I started bringing wholesale specific postcards that I can hand out if asked. I also ask for their business card first so I can follow up with them. Super smart. I mean, I don't think it necessarily means that you have to have a line sheet. If you do have line sheets ready, that's great too. But like Rachel said, if you have something where it's just like your catalog and everything is online and you can just have a specific one that gives the URL to the vendor ones first, great. And then Rachel says, I like to vet them first. That's smart. So you don't just have randos coming in trying to ask about wholesale. Getting their cards is great too, because that puts some power with you that you can be in charge of following up. Just, they might lose their card or something like that. I think that's smart to be proactive there too. The next thing is, and kind of piggybacks on this last one a little, is that you're not thinking about the follow-up and what happens after the craft show. So that can be anything from, how can people buy from you later, making sure that you have postcards out, that when people come into your booth and they're shopping, obviously you want to make the sale right then and there, but if you can get them to sign up on your email list. So that could be anything from actually just, having like a paper list. It could also mean, you could do a business card raffle to try to get some that way too. And then you can also have postcards yourself, kind of like Rachel said, and hand them out to people so that in case they don't buy right there, they can do it later. And if, there's like show special or something like that you're going to extend for a week to people who come through your booth, I think that's great too. Yeah. Making sure that isn't thing. And I think kind of also, I know it kind of goes along with this. It's like, I think you forget about follow-up, but you also forget, like, how do you sort of sort it out so that when people come to your booth, it's sort of like obvious what you want them to do a little bit, so that some of your energies, you're not missing everyone because you can't directly have long conversations with everyone, but that everyone comes in and really understands what they need to be doing next with you, how to price, how prices are, things like that. I guess that kind of is its own separate point. That's a bonus point.
Bonus point. See, we knew that we couldn't keep it to 5. I think the one thing that I would add to the follow-up is I know that a lot of other makers have mentioned that especially when they're doing holiday shows, and especially if they're getting to the point where they're running out of stock, they will have like a little card or something, or let people know that they can get free shipping for online orders within a week of the show, or something like that, to kind of incentivize people to if they're not able to buy right away for whatever reason, to buy from you online without having to pay a penalty and having to pay shipping on top of that.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people don't buy sometimes because they're not able to carry everything with them. Like you could be someone that they come at the end of the show and they just weren't, they bought way more than they thought, or your items are kind of big and they're not able to take it with them for whatever reason.
They're shopping with the person they're going to give it to.
Yeah, they're with the person they're going to give it to. Or it could be sometimes that people are actually interested, but your booth is kind of busy. It's a line to get to you. And if you have it so that it's easy for people to take a card and shop from you online in the same manner, they're into that. That's, it still counts as a sale from the show because they wouldn't have been interested otherwise.
Yeah. Okay. Tip number 4 is kind of dovetails with the whole making a list. But maybe you forgot to actually invite your audience to see you at the show, your buyers, your customers. You've got to let them know where you're going to be, when you're going to be there. Because those are the people that are most likely to buy from you again, especially around the holidays. And so you've got to invite them. You cannot assume that they know what shows are going on in the area or what shows you're going to be at. Yep.
And I think inviting buyers is great. Obviously, invite your existing buyers in the area. Just let them know, hey, I'm going to be here. Especially if you haven't connected or if there's an order they want to pick up there, whatever it is, like invite your current buyers. If you have new things that they can see in person for whatever reason, that's great too. I don't think it's a waste just because they're already buyers to be like, oh, or already customers, like, oh, they don't need to come. Like, obviously, like these people are interested in your stuff. You want to invite them. But reaching out to buyers that you'd like to have carry your stuff to, say like, maybe you've already had a conversation with them, or maybe you're just reaching out for the first time and you can say, I love your shop. I've been looking and thinking about, approaching you about wholesale. And it just so happens that I'm also going to be in the area. I'd love to meet with you if you happen to be at this show, and then talk about whatever inducements you might have for them to come out.
Yeah. And I would say that there are also, when you bring your existing customers, like any of them that do end up attending the show, you'll watch and see how they end up selling your work for you to whoever else is next to them. They're like, they're going on and on about how great this new product is, or, oh, I have that one. And, I gave this to my so-and-so for their birthday and they love it. I mean, that kind of peer recommendation makes the selling process so much easier than you just always being the one in charge of that.
Totally. And it's nice to have that energy of people who are excited about your work instead of feeling like you have to drum up that energy every time when people come into your booth.
Yeah.
The other thing is, now this one's a little bit different, but like a missed connection at shows, I think, is you can be so busy and stuck in your booth that you fail to sort of take in the experience of the show. And I'm not saying like you're needing to experience it like a customer is, but like, did you get to walk the show enough and sort of like see who else is there, how their stuff is selling? It can help to answer a lot of questions about why the show may or may not be working for you. It can open your eyes to see other people doing booths better than you, giving you inspiration. Also just, making friends with other people there. I think that's huge. We super encourage community and, getting to know other makers so that, when you see them at another show, that there's, a friendly face there if you need to borrow something or ask them for break when you need to use the restroom or whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, one of my favorite things to do when I did shows was at the very end, like the last 30 minutes or something, everybody would go around and start making trades. And that was really time to really connect with the community around the other makers and really it was a good way to like end things. And the last thing you want to be is so busy or so caught up that you don't make time for that, because that may not seem like a direct way to increase your sales or find new buyers, but strengthening your community and enriching those relationships you have with other makers do help in the long run. They help, with your own support network. They help with word of mouth. They help. There's so many different ways. And the last thing we want you to do is sacrifice that in favor of just making an extra buck.
Definitely. I think there's a lot of like good information to take in and things happening around you if you kind of are just solely focused on only making the sales and that's it. A lot of the craft show experience will kind of, fly past you because of that. And it won't help you really understand your success either, I think.
Yeah.
Any questions anybody has?
If you have questions, throw them in the chat or use the Ask a Question button. Love to answer questions or comments or experiences. I won't lie, I kind of miss craft shows. It's been years and years since I've sold at one, but and shopping from them for me is not quite the same. It's a very different experience. I get very overwhelmed very easily, and I'm like one of those very discerning shoppers. Like I know what I'm going in to get, and if I don't see it, I just move on. But as stressful as they were, like hanging out all day or for 2 days at a craft show selling was, I don't know, it's a fun, different way of doing things, and I kind of miss it.
So Kristen has a question. She says, how does everyone, let me actually throw this into the chat area so that we can mark it. How does everyone handle snarky customers, especially you charge what for that? Would you like to take a stab at this, Isaac?
I used to get that all the time. So I used to make cuff bracelets out of old camera lenses, and so there was the upcycled component, and most people saw how cool it was, but some people would be like, oh, you just went to a thrift store and got a camera lens for $5 and now you're selling it for $80 or $100. And so I would get that, and it was tough at first to know how to deal with that, but I think you just kind of have to own it and say, yeah, that's reiterate this is made by hand. You have to know why this has value, so that you can communicate that back to the customer, because more often than not, they are either, if they comment like that, they either are not your target customer, or they do not fully understand what it took to make it, or what materials you use, or things like that, or they don't adequately understand the value of handmade generally. And so that's the perfect opportunity for education, and it's really hard to not shoot back snark at them. But I think owning it and saying, being confident, saying, yes, this is what I charge, this is these are the main reasons why, I think that's the strongest bet. What do you think, Sharon?
Yeah. I don't really think you need to even spend that much time educating this person who is never going to buy from you. Unless you would like to. But definitely yes, definitely this is how much it costs, and move along. You just have to pretend that those people don't exist, and just realize that they are not there for you. They were never going to buy from you, and they're people who don't get it. So, oh well.
I think so. I hear the question.
Those are the same people that are like, this Jackson Pollock is how much money? That is just paint on a canvas. Who cares? Obviously, the talent is the talent that you have to ascribe the value to these types of things is not something that they understand. It's not in their wheelhouse. It's not in their comprehension. They don't have to. It's fine. You just ignore them. So yeah.
I like that in me, it brings out the defensive advocate for handmade, and in you, you're just like, not for you. Carry on.
She said, so what you're saying is bye Felicia is not appropriate. Probably not.
You gotta do like a really nice bye Felicia, like hold firm.
Yeah.
Just let them go.
Keep walking.
It is hard not to take it personally. I think the key is to remember that they're not questioning you as a person. It's a failure to understand the value. And that doesn't mean that you are any less. It just means that they don't know.
Yep, exactly. 100%. All right. Well, I think that's it for this week. You can join us next week since you've already signed up. And we're going to talk about selling, and selling is service.
Service is selling.
So, we'll see you guys next week. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.